It was 2:47 a.m. when the elevator doors opened for me, even though I never pressed the button. The lobby was dead quiet, just the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. Inside the elevator stood a woman. She had long, dark hair that fell over her shoulders, and she wore a bright red scarf. She was just staring straight ahead at the back wall. For a second, I almost didn't step in. I mean, who takes an elevator at this hour? Just standing there like that. But as I hesitated, her head slowly, almost mechanically, turned toward me. The movement was so deliberate, so unnatural. It was like she'd been waiting for me all along. My feet felt like lead, but something pulled me forward. I stepped inside, my heart thumping against my ribs. The doors slid shut behind me with a soft thud, sealing me inside with her. She didn't say a word, didn't even seem to notice I was there. Her face was incredibly pale, almost translucent under the dim light, and her eyes were unfocused, staring into nothing. That red scarf around her neck seemed to glow against her white skin, a stark splash of color in the otherwise drab metal box. I reached out a shaky hand and pressed the button for the 12th floor. Nothing happened. The elevator just stayed still. The air grew thick and silent, so quiet I could hear my own breathing. And then a whisper seemed to materialize in the air right next to my ear. "You shouldn't go up there tonight." I snapped my head toward her. Her lips hadn't moved, not even a twitch. The lights in the elevator flickered violently, once, twice. Then the whole car began to rise. It wasn't a normal ascent, though. It was smooth, too smooth, and completely silent. I glanced at the floor indicator panel above the door. The numbers weren't lighting up. There was just a single, faint red dot glowing in the darkness where the display should have been. I looked back at the woman. She wasn't staring at the doors anymore. She was staring right at me. Her eyes were fixed on mine, studying me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. Her head tilted to the side, hoosed slightly, as if she were listening to a conversation that I couldn't hear. Then, that same disembodied whisper returned, clearer this time. "He's waiting for you." My mouth went dry. Before I could even form the word who, the elevator jerked to a violent, bone-jarring halt. We were stood trapped between floors. The silence was absolute now. A heavy, suffocating blanket. No hum, no movement, nothing. I lunged for the emergency button and slammed my thumb down on it, again and again. Nothing. No alarm, no voice over the intercom. Just silence. My panic started to bubble up. I turned to the woman, maybe to scream, maybe to ask for help. I don't know. But she was closer. So much closer. I hadn't seen her move, not a single step, but she was now standing just inches away from me. The fabric of her red scarf brushed against my shoulder, and a wave of impossible cold washed over me. Her voice, a soft, chilling drift of air, whispered directly into my ear, "Don't turn around." And then I felt it, a cold breath sliding down the back of my neck. But it wasn't hers. She was standing right in front of me. The polished metal walls of the elevator began to flicker, like an old television with a bad signal. The reflections distorted, wavering in and out of focus. And then I saw it. The reflection behind me was wrong. It wasn't just my own terrified face staring back anymore. There was a figure standing there, right behind me. It was tall and thin, a shifting column of shadow with no discernible face, and it was leaning over my shoulder, almost embracing me. I froze, unable to move, unable to breathe. I looked at the woman. Her eyes were wide now, but she wasn't looking at me. She was looking past me, at the reflection in the wall. "He followed you," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "He always follows the lonely ones." Then I saw her reflection, while the real woman in front of me looked terrified. Her reflection was smiling, a wide, predatory grin that stretched from ear to ear. Suddenly, the floor dropped out from under me. The elevator was in a free fall, plunging into the abyss. It only lasted for a half second, but it felt like an eternity. Then, with another violent lurch, it stopped. This time, the doors chimed softly and slid open. But this wasn't my floor. This wasn't any floor in my building. I was staring down a long, narrow hallway that stretched into utter darkness. The walls were bathed in a sickening red light that seemed to pulse faintly. There were no doors, no windows, no exits. Just the hallway, and the sound of faint, ragged breathing echoing from deep within it. The woman took a step out of the elevator. Her feet made no sound on the carpeted floor. She turned back to me, her face now completely blank, devoid of any emotion. "If you step out," she whispered, "you won't come back." And as she spoke, I saw something move in the shadows behind her. A dark shape crawling across the floor, long, spindly fingers dragging through the red carpet, leaving dark trails in their wake. My instincts took over. I slammed my hand on the door close button, hammering it over and over. The woman just stood there in the red hallway, watching me with those empty eyes. As the doors slowly began to slide shut, I kept my gaze locked on her, terrified she might try to stop them. But she didn't move. Right before the doors sealed completely, cutting off the horrifying view, her head snapped to the side at an impossible neck-breaking angle. Her voice changed, no longer a whisper but a layered, distorted chorus of sounds that scraped at my ear. "He's already behind you." And then the elevator lights went completely black, plunging me into total darkness and a silence that was far worse than any sound. When the lights flickered back on, I was alone. The elevator chimed softly, a normal, friendly sound. The door slid open. I wasn't on some hellish floor. I was back in the lobby, right where I had started. The clock on the wall read to 48 a.m. Had it all been a dream? A hallucination? I stumbled out onto the familiar tile floor, my legs shaking uncontrollably. The elevator doors began to close, but then stopped, and opened again with another gentle ding. She was standing inside. The same woman, the same dark hair, the same red scarf. But this time she was looking right at me. And she was smiling, not the monstrous grin from the reflection, but a pleasant, inviting smile. She tilted her head, and in a perfectly normal, cheerful voice, she asked, "Going up?"